Hello, and welcome to the Illinois Mutual eApp demo training session. My name is Leah Heyerman, and I'm one of the onboarding and training specialists here at Illinois Mutual. Today, I'm going to walk you through how to take an e-application from start to finish in our agent portal. In order to access the e-application, you'll start by logging into the agent portal. Once you have reached the agent portal dashboard, you can access the eApp and quoting software in two ways. First, over to the right, you have your quick links, and you can click on eApps to access the quoting and eApp software. Or over to the left, under Illustrations and Applications, by clicking on Illustrations and Applications. When you first get out to the eApp and quoting software, you'll find four tabs across the middle of the screen. First is the Home tab, where you will see anything that you've recently accessed, such as an application or illustration or a client record. Clients will house any client records that you've added to the system. Illustrations are going to show any illustrations that you've run for your clients. And applications will house any applications, e-applications that you've started and or completed. So to start your e-application, off to the left, you're going to click on Create Application under Application Management. In most cases, you're probably going to be creating a new client. So we'll click on Create New Client. You'll enter in your first and last name, date of birth or age, and gender. Next, you're going to choose your application sign state. So the application sign state is going to default to your primary state. So if you have non-resident licenses in other states and you're going to be doing business in that state, it's very important that you choose the correct state here in the dropdown. Under product type, you'll choose either disability, return of premium term, or whole life. Today, we're going to do a disability application. And then over to the right, you'll choose your product. So personal paycheck power, business expense power, or simplified issue DI. Today, we're going to do a personal paycheck power e-application, and you'll click Next. Once you are in the e-application, you'll see everything with a red asterisk is a required field. That's the beauty of the eApp. It does not allow you to submit any not in good order applications that might be missing some of those required fields, things that are easy to miss on a paper application. So I'm actually going to pull up a eApp that I have 100% complete, so you don't have to wait for me to fill in all of the information here. You can see I have this app 100% completed, and everything on this page, I've filled in all of those required fields. So I have my address in there. I'm actually going to leave one of these blank so you can see what happens at the end if you leave out any of those required fields. Down at the bottom here, I put in my driver's license information, occupation, and duties of their occupation. And then you'll click Continue on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. On this screen, you'll enter in their year-to-date income, their income last year, and income 2 years ago, and click Continue. And then questions regarding if they are applying for or will become eligible for any disability insurance plan or benefit. And on your product selection page, this is where you're going to enter in all of your product information. Now, if you created an illustration for your client previously, and you started your eApp from the illustration, it will already have this information entered into it. But if you started one from scratch and you're just going into your e-application, then you'll enter in all of your product information on this screen. You can also remove, change, or edit any riders here as well, and click Continue. When you get to this screen, this is where you'll enter your owner information. Now, if you have a separate owner that may be different from the primary insured, you'll go here to choose your owner type. Now, I don't have that owner type here because I already have an owner listed here. But if you have a separate owner, you'll click the drop down, select owner, and then you'll enter the relationship to the insured, and then click OK. And then it will have you enter in the owner's information and click Continue. If you have a separate payer, you can add them on this screen here. So you'll click New. You can either choose payer as owner if your insured is also the owner and payer, or you can choose another payer type, enter in the payer information, and click Continue. Once you get to the billing and payment information section, it's going to ask you for the effective date. So you have the options for application date, issue date, or other. I think in most cases, agents tend to choose issue date. Initial premium payment, you can choose cash with app. COD is where you are collecting that premium when you deliver the policy. or by far the fastest and easiest option is to draft that first premium. If you choose that option, let us know if you want us to draft that at issue or on another date. Again, I think typically agents choose at issue. And then your payment method here is going to be EFT only if it's monthly. If it's semi-annual, quarterly, or annual, you'll have some other options for a direct bill. And then you'll enter in the bank name, routing number, and account number twice. And then under account type, you'll choose checking or savings. And then the draft day is not the day that they want that initial draft to come out, but whatever day they want that draft to come out of their bank account each month. So I'm going to choose the 15th and click continue. Now, when you get to this section, it says, do you want to complete the Part B questions? If completing a teleapplication, select no. So Illinois Mutual's definition of a teleapplication is you as the agent are skipping or omitting the medical questions, submitting the application, and we will then put it in order with exam 1 to reach out to your client to complete that Part B interview. Now, typically, I usually recommend asking those Part B questions. Again, those are the medical questions, just because the better overall picture or understanding you have of your client's medical and prescription background history helps eliminate any surprises during the underwriting process. So I'm going to click yes. I am going to ask those medical questions. So first, it's going to ask questions regarding their occupation and occupation duties. So you'll enter in their primary occupation, years of experience, some additional information regarding their duties of occupation. That's very important to help our underwriters be able to, establish what their duties are and how it would correspond to that occupation. Answer the rest of the questions regarding employment and click continue. Now you have your standard insurance application questions, height, weight. You'll see on the next page here, if we answer yes to any of those questions, let's say my client has high blood pressure. So I answer yes, I check the box next to high blood pressure, and it goes into what we call some additional drill down questions. So it's going to ask when they were first seen for the condition, did they receive any testing? If they are controlling this medical condition with medications, I like to show like a more recent reading to show that they're controlling this condition. It's going to ask some additional questions regarding disability or time off work. And then if they are seeing their primary care physician, you can just check the box here. Or if they see a specialist, you just enter in the physician name and contact information here. And if there are any other notes or comments about the diagnosis or treatment, you can put that in the box here at the bottom and click OK. And then answer the rest of those medical questions. Now, when you get to this supplemental forms page, it's going to have this consent to conduct business electronically. So you're just going to click this little piece of paper with a pencil, check the box to consent and click OK, and then click continue. Now, here is where it's going to stop you if you leave out any required fields. So all you have to do is click on the underlined header here. It will take you back to the page and highlight the information you missed. So I'm just going to enter in that city field that I left out. And then over to the left, you'll click on complete application. It will take you back to the end of the application. Now I've got all of my required fields, so I can click continue. Now, when you get to this screen, you do have to review the forms. So click on review forms. It is going to bring up a pop-up PDF, and this is essentially a paper application that was filled in by your e-app. Now you can do whatever you want with it. So you can print it, you can download it, or just close it out and move on with your e-application. What I will tell you is this is your plan B. If for whatever reason your client has issues with the e-signature, you can always go back and print this for a wet signature. But I am going to close this out and continue with my e-application by clicking continue. Now here is where your client will sign. So you're going to enter in your client's city. And then signature method, you will have two options. Mouse finger stylus, that is if your client is signing with you in person, or e-signature. That's if you're sending your client an email to sign. So we're going to choose e-signature. I'm going to put in my client's email address here. And if you have another signer who's going to be signing on this application, it will stop you before you click continue. So you'll just choose under signature for if you have a separate owner, separate payer, you'll choose them from this drop down here and then their signature method and click continue. And you will answer the agent certification questions. If there's any split commissions, you can enter those in here. Exam requirements will be checked and grayed out. So if it's non-medical, it's going to be selected there for you. If there are exams, you can choose whether you would like the home office to schedule those. That is by far the fastest and easiest option for you. Or if you prefer to reach out to APS or Exam One, you can choose agent to schedule. Or if an exam was already completed with another carrier by Exam One in the last 6 months, we might be able to pull those. If you have any comments or additional information you'd like the home office to know, you can put that in that comment section at the bottom here and click continue. When you get to this screen, you do have to review the forms as the advisor. So again, you're going to click review forms. Again, do whatever you want with this. Print it, download it, or just close it out and move on and click continue. If you'd like to add any attachments, such as maybe a cover letter, some medical records, you can do that here and then click continue. And then here's where you will sign as the agent. You will always choose mouse finger stylus. Check the box. I'm using my mouse to sign. Click apply my signature and OK and continue. Now, if everyone has signed with you in person, you will now have the option to click the submit button on the next page. I do not have that option available to me because I sent that as an e-signature. So at this point, there's nothing for you to do other than to let your client know that they should be receiving an email from OneSpan Sign. That is our e-app vendor. They might want to check their junk mail just to make sure that it didn't end up in there. They will click the link in that email, log in with their date of birth and last four of their social, and the system will prompt them to click to sign on each page that requires a signature. Now, you will also get an email once your client has signed, letting you know your client has signed, and that application goes directly into underwriting. If it's been a couple of days and you have not received that email, it might be a good idea to log back into the agent portal, visit your applications tab, and you can check the status here. So if you see a status of awaiting signature, and if it's been a couple of days, you might want to reach out to your client, letting them know or asking them if they had any questions or need any help with that e-signature process. But once it has been submitted, then you will see a status here of submitted, and that goes directly into underwriting. Thank you so much for joining me today and learning about our e-application. Be sure to check out our other on-demand webinars, including our life application and other product webinars as well. And as always, please reach out to our sales team if we can help in any way. We're always here and happy to help.